because it was like, it's a thing, right? We need to do that. And turns out that true, most of us don't. And most of us don't realize that we're not doing that. In fact, a recent study with elite athletes, and 91% of them did not have a diaphragm relaxing and contracting fully, right? So if they don't, probably we don't, and probably we need to learn how to do it. And what I want to share with you tonight is that yoga is like really important, particularly asana is really important. But not everybody does the asana enough. I'm going to put this in my pocket because I'm going to move a little bit. We're going to breathe a little bit together tonight. So it's really important that you know basics. Yoga and breathing and pranayama don't work if the rib cage is rigid. And that's the big problem with most of us, is our rib cage has become rigid. So we're going to talk about that and dive into that. Tomorrow, I want to mention that tomorrow, the workshop I'm doing is going to be, weather permitting, if not too hot, on the beach. We're going to do a nose breathing plus a bunch of other really cool breathing techniques as we walk. If you want to jog, you can do that. But we'll do like a little loop right in front of the beach area, and I'll be talking to you as we go around. And might be a good idea to wear a bathing suit, because if it's hot, you can dip and come back, right? And if it's too hot, we can do it in the Annapurna house. We're going to meet there first and then do it. And it's really important to know how to take the ability to breathe off the mat, right? Because our studies show that when you actually breathe properly, we published a study in the International Journal of Neuroscience many years ago on the difference between nose breathing versus mouth breathing. And when you actually breathe through your nose, your brain went into a meditative calm, literally. And when you open your mouth, it's like a bear in the woods. You get stressed out, went up a tree, save your life. And that's how most of us live our life these days. So we need ways to turn the volume down. We need ways to restore the eye of the storm in this crazy world we live in. And the bigger the eye that you can create, the bigger the calm that you can establish, the more powerful the wins you can enjoy and have in your life, the more productive that you can be. I was so frustrated because I see patients still, and I see patient after patient after patient. And they come in and they're very healthy. I eat a lot of healthy, and they eat really well, and they do everything right. And they go to their doctor, and the doctor says, you should be on a statin. Many of you are way too young to even have this happen, but this happens to like regular people, healthy people. It's like they're trying to just sell statins. And I said, this is so frustrating. So I dug into the research, and I found that every aspect of high blood pressure or high cholesterol or extra weight around your belly or whatever was linked to stress. When you're under stress, chronic stress, compared to like our hunter-gatherer ancestors, right? Maybe they got chased by a lion like once in a while, but for the general part of their life, walking in the forest, it's pretty chill, right? But our life isn't that. And that underlying constant incoming, that constant rev, that constant stimulation creates just enough chronic stress to tell the body that you're being chased by a lion. And I need to put more sugar into the blood. I need to create more cholesterol to make more hormone to fight that stress. I need to put extra fat around your belly or wherever I can put it to store reserve fuel so I don't run out of gas, because this war can never end. So we need ways to convince the body that the war is over cell by cell, and yoga, breathing, meditation is a part of that. Breathing is a part of that, but you got to take that breathing off the mat. Well, I need to teach you how to create a neurological calm, a brainwave coherence, a state of alpha, a meditative brainwave that you can have while you're meditating in activity. And that's what we proved in our study on the difference between nose breathing and mouth breathing. Like, it's really cool. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. It's going to be fun. We'll do some walking. I'll teach you how to do a bunch of different breathing techniques, but the research shows that we can actually create a meditative calm in your brain while you're running pretty much as fast as you can. So imagine running as fast as you can, but having the same brainwave pattern as you are in your meditation that we just experienced. That's pretty cool. That's taking it off the mat. That's taking it while you're driving your kids to soccer or driving through traffic or dealing with stress at work. That's the goal. Take it off the mat. Okay, so that's going to be tomorrow. The next morning, Sunday morning, I hope you all come, because we're going to talk about how to do healing distance healing and self-healing. I'm going to actually teach you how to take your pulse and actually teach you a technique that actually can heal based on quantum science. I'm going to give you the evidence to show you how this technique can actually heal, which nobody talks about because nobody understands how self-healing and distance healing really works, but there's science to back it up, and it's going to be amazing. I'm sure you're going to actually do it. You're going to heal yourself. It's going to be really fun. We're going to do that on Sunday morning, so wake up early for that. That's going to be good. And then the workshop after that is going to be a breathing workshop with specific evidence-based breathing techniques to actually reverse your heartburn, your GERD, your reflux, indigestion, lower your blood pressure, detoxify your brain lymphatic system. Did you know that your brain lymphatic system dumps 3 pounds of trash out of your head every year while you sleep? And do you know who pumps that out of your head? Your diaphragm. And 91% of athletes don't have one functioning properly, so none of us actually do. So that's going to be critical for us to learn how to breathe and get our diaphragm. We're going to start that tonight to get the diaphragm functioning really well for us. But it's really important for so many aspects of your health. I was in a restaurant maybe a year or so ago, and I was walking into the restaurant, and there was a couple of elderly folks coming out of the restaurant. They probably were in their 80s or 90s, and they were really frail, and their mouths were open, and they were struggling to get out of this restaurant, and I was helping them get out of the restaurant. And I looked at them, and I was like, wow. If someone would have told them 20 years ago that just 5 minutes of breathing per day, just 5 minutes, would reverse their age-related cognitive decline, reverse their heartburn, their GERD, their reflux, activate their diaphragm and pump the brain lymphatic systems and actually help them literally reverse the aging and particularly the brain aging process. Pump the entire lymphatic system, which is the system that carries your immune system, the system that detoxifies you, the system that actually delivers fat as energy to every cell of your body. So if you're tired and you're immune compromised and you have poor digestion, you can't digest things, or you have brain fog, there's a really good chance that it's the drainage system in your body that's broken. And that drainage system is the largest circulatory system in your body. It's your lymphatic system, and nobody talks about it. Now, in Ayurveda, we talk about it as rasa. Rasa is the study of the lymphatic system, and the study of rasa is called rasayana, and rasayana is literally the study of longevity. So the understanding of how well you take the trash out in your body is the longevity science. And that is 100% lives and breathes and dies based on how well you breathe, if your diaphragm is functioning properly. So the rib cage is a cage, right? And its job in life is to squeeze the air out. That's its job. And your diaphragm's job is to contract and open that rib cage up. But the problem is that the diaphragm oftentimes doesn't contract fully, which means that the rib cage over time is going to do what? Get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And that causes us to breathe more shallow. Every time that you get under a stress or have some situation happen to you, you change how you breathe, right? I see a bear in the woods, I change how I breathe. Very quickly, that breathing becomes normal to you. Then another stress comes along, I change how I breathe, and that becomes normal. Another one, that becomes normal. Soon, over time, your rib cage, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and you have no idea this is happening. It's an insidious phenomena that happens to every single one of them, and you don't want to be those elderly folks walking out of a restaurant with their mouth open, because that's the only way they can breathe, because the rib cage has gotten so tight and rigid they can't pump the trash out or the cerebral spinal fluid up into their brain to give them the mental clarity and take out the 3 pounds of trash out of your head every year that your body normally produces. But if that can't get out, research shows, and this is new research because they only discovered the brain lymph about 17 years ago in the University of Virginia. They didn't even know that there was brain lymph, and Ayurveda has been treating brain lymph for 2,500 years. It was written in Charaka Samhita, written thousands of years ago. So in the one thing that we can do every day is make sure that diaphragm is pumping the trash out. Studies show that if you don't have good brain lymphatic drainage, it's linked to anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, inflammation, infection, poor sleep, and autoimmune concerns. Autoimmune concerns means that your body is actually, the immune system is actually fighting its own self. The brain, the master computer, which is regulating everything, doesn't know how many fire trucks to send on the fire on Main Street, saying, I send 100 or I send 1, I don't know. Because it's not getting feedback from the information carrying system, which is your lymphatic system. And if that system's broken, then the brain can send 1, which is too little, or 100, which is too many, and it starts to create this autoimmune response. I'm telling you this from a medical journal said that. Now, there's no medical application of that in Western science. They don't tell you that when you go to the doctor. They have no idea what's causing an autoimmune response, so they just suppress your immune system, which is sort of not the greatest idea. I mean, you have to do what your doctor says to save your life in those situations, but your lymphatic system is literally stuck in traffic, which means your immune system can't get where it needs to go, so your brain doesn't know what to do. They did studies with COVID when it first came out, and they had studies to show that long-haul COVID was directly linked to congestion of the brain lymph and lymphatic systems. There's 2 systems of the brain that dump all this trash out. And when your brain lymphatic is congested, and I'm going to teach you during this week ways to clean it out, and they're really cool. Breathing tonight is number 1 for sure. But if you track the lymphatic system back to its source, where do you end up? Anybody have an idea? You shout it out if you know. Anyone? It ends up in your heart. That's where it's going. That's its main job. The muscles are pumping to get all the lymph to your heart, and then the heart pumps back into your blood. But if you track the beginning of the lymphatic system, it's in your digestion. That's where it starts. So, in America, they've told us, well, there's all this bad food out there. I don't know if you have a cell phone or listen to social media ever, but if you did, you'd probably be being told that you shouldn't eat wheat, you shouldn't eat dairy, you shouldn't eat nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, nightshades, goitrogens, oxalates, right? Have you heard that? And you should only eat meat because it's carnivore time, right? You've heard of the carnivore diet? Anyone? So now everybody's saying you should just eat meat and vegetables and you'll be fine. And you're right, you will be fine for a little while. And you know why you'll be fine? Because meat is not the macho man diet that they think it is. Meat is a very easy diet to digest. If you're a vegetarian, you're eating a macho man diet, believe it or not. And they would never think that because they're all eating bare-chested, eating meat off the bone, and it's got to be manly, right? Well, it turns out that meat doesn't have any anti-nutrients. Plants produce chemicals to ward off predators, which are hard to digest proteins, which make them very difficult to digest. So that's why when people get off the vegetables and the grains and the beans and the nuts and the legumes, all the foods that the bugs want to eat, the high-density foods, we have trouble eating them. So we blame the food. Got to be the food, got to be the wheat, got to be the oxalates. Oxalates are really bad, so don't eat those. Goitrogens, nuts, seeds, beans. And the reality is, and I'll quote a study for you right now. The study said that if you don't break down your proteins, which is all those anti-nutrients on vegetables, and there are none of those in meat, by the way. If you don't break those down, or the fats being mostly, we have good fats. There's seed oils, which are bad fats, processed oils. And we have 70 million tons in America dumped in our atmosphere of toxic chemicals into our atmosphere every year, according to the EPA, and they are mostly fat-soluble. So all that junk that they squirt into our atmosphere filters down into the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat, and you got to digest it. So that's not a good look. Most of us feel really bad from all that. It overwhelms us. And the study showed that if you don't break down those proteins and fats completely, they will go indigested incompletely digested into your intestinal tract. They'll be too big because the molecule didn't get broken down to get into your blood and nourish you, so you're going to be hungry all the time. And they'll get uptaken into the collecting ducts of your lymphatic system. And they'll congest your lymph, give you extra weight around your belly, make you tired because the fats are not being delivered as fat as fuel. They'll get out through your skin, through the skin-associated lymphatic tissue, and your skin will break out. It'll go into your brain, lymph, and lymphatic system, giving you brain fog and cognitive decline. It'll make you hypersensitive to foods and environments and chemicals and things like that. It'll make your joints ache because your lymph's trying to take the trash out of your joints. But without a functioning diaphragm, we don't take the trash out. So the toxins stay in your joints. They start to cause achiness. The toxins move out of your tissues, out of your body via your skin, so it creates rashes. Builds up in your brain. It creates brain congestion, lymph congestion, all these things that we don't really need to have if you have a diaphragm that's functioning. And there's about 14 different studies that show if you have a diaphragm, that if you strengthen your diaphragm, some of those techniques I'm going to show you tonight, more on the next workshop, not tomorrow, is the one after that. We're going to go into detail about breathing for your digestion. But there's about 14 different studies that show if you do what's called maximum inspiratory breathing techniques, which means actually get your diaphragm to fully contract and fully relax, you'll reverse your heartburn, your GERD, your reflux, and indigestion. Now, when you go to the doctor, they don't tell you that. But it's in their own medical journals that you can do. All these studies are in their journals. But they don't give you the breathing technique. They give you the pill, the PPI, which blocks your B12 and turns your digestive fire off. So now you can no way digest all the hard-to-digest anti-nutrients on the foods that we eat that are the most healthy and nourishing for us, which are those harder-to-digest vegetables. So everybody says, well, don't eat those because they make me feel bad. Let's just eat the meat. And that's where we've gone. And a lot of the so-called biohacker carnivore people, you ask them to eat oxalates or these foods, you know what they're going to tell you? I feel sick when I eat it. Now, if you feel sick when you eat something, don't eat it, right? That makes sense. And I'm 100% behind that. But don't you think that we should think about asking the question, why are these foods that have been around for... If you take rice and beans out of the diet on this planet, a good chunk of the population would starve to death, maybe half. But now we have people who can't eat rice or can't eat beans, right? You know that, right? They're bad for you. And Weedsman, they found gluten in the teeth of ancient humans 3.5 million years ago. That's a while ago. So to take these foods out of the diet without recognizing that there might be something wrong with the digestive system that's broken down. And I get the glyphosate thing. Trust me, I wrote a book called Eat Wheat. I know that. And I wrote a book called The 3-Season Diet, by eating with the seasons. And I also know there were 4 seasons, but people thought that I didn't. So they didn't read the book. They were like, no, there's 4. What an idiot. So what we decided to do, we took all that book and we put it into monthly chapters. For every month of the year, we give you grocery lists and superfood lists and recipes and herbs that are naturally harvested in that month for that season, to give you the right foods for the right season with the right microbes that come out of the ground and during that season to inoculate your gut with the right bugs for the right season, because your gut bugs change from season to season to season. To decongest you in the spring from allergies, to dissipate heat in the summer for extra heat, and to boost your immunity in the winter. That's what those bugs do. And the bugs on the foods, the bugs on your herbs, they have to be intact. Just like if I took the bugs out of you, you'd be completely different. So we give you foods that have been sprayed with pesticides. We give you herbs that have been extracted in alcohol, which are sterile, which act like drugs, which have side effects. And we wonder why we have all these problems. When in Ayurveda, it was like, don't mess with Mother Nature. Really, don't do that. It's not going to work out well. And so we have to recognize that nature had a plan, a beautiful plan. And the longevity system is the lymphatic system, the rasa dhatu is the very first tissue in the body, and a very important one at that. So Let's talk about the breathing a little bit and get the diaphragm work. Because my goal today is not to teach you yoga or pranayama. My goal today is to give you calisthenics for your rib cage, basically, because that's what I think a lot of us need to get started with. And I always suggest if you do this for like a month, the first exercise I'm going to give you for like a month, get this rib cage moving. It's a game changer. And, you know, as I sit here today, I'm kind of maybe slouching a little bit. If you're at home on your computer, what are we doing? We're slouching a little bit. If you're in a couch, you're slouching a little bit. And what happens when that happens is your rib cage gets pushed down into your abdomen, pushes your diaphragm into a pre-contracted position. So your diaphragm literally cannot contract fully from this position. So what happens is your rib cage goes, well, I'm going to do my thing, which is to contract and create rib cage tension. And that forces us, without us realizing it, add a little stress to the equation. It happens even worse, and we start breathing more shallow. We have no idea we just did that. And that creates something which is called over-breathing or shallow breathing. And one study showed that when you over-breathe or breathe shallow, 75% of the oxygen you breathe in, you breathe right back out unused, right? So you're breathing in all this oxygen, but you're breathing 75% of it out without even utilizing it, which is like pretty inefficient. And then we blow off all that oxygen we're not using because we're shallow breathing. And one of the reasons for that is because 60 to 80% of the blood is reservoired in the lower lobes of your lungs, which is, it's a gravity-fed system. The gravity pulls the blood down here. There's more alveoli for exchange down here. That's where most of the action happens. So when you shallow breathe and you're breathing up here, you're just not getting that exchange. And what happens is when you're blowing off all that oxygen that you're not using, you're also blowing off most of your carbon dioxide, your CO2. So what happens in your blood is that your oxygen levels go high because you're at 98% saturation, because you're turning back 75% of the oxygen you're breathing in, and your body's already at 98% saturation. Go to the doctor, they put that thing on your finger, and they go, you're fine, because your oxygen is 98% saturation. But your CO2 low, because you're shallow breathing way more faster than you should, the oxygen CO2 levels plummet. And when you have a low CO2 and high oxygen, that's the perfect storm for anxiety, which is why when people have an anxiety attack, what do? They put a paper bag over their mouth and they rebreathe their carbon dioxide and they get calm, right? So most of us, because we're shallow breathers, have become prone to anxiety and worry because we have this high level of oxygen, low level of CO2. And when the oxygen levels are high and the CO2 levels are low, the bond between the oxygen and the hemoglobin in your blood becomes like super tight. So there's a tendency for the oxygen to linger in your blood and not get dispersed into your tissues. And you become more hypoxic in your tissues, therefore tired, therefore lethargic, therefore no color in your face, your complexion gets more gray as you get older because you're just not delivering that oxygen the way you should because your diaphragm isn't working the way it should. Now, when you actually learn how to breathe properly and that CO2 level, you stop breathing shallow and that CO2 level start to rise naturally again, it's called the Bohr effect. That is the trigger to release the oxygen from your blood into your deep tissues. And they actually call that pranayama. That is why they call it pranayama, because prana means breath originally, and yam means to pause or to hold or to extend your breath. So when you do that, when you hold your breath, what happens to your carbon dioxide? Does it go up or down? It goes up in your body, right? So when that starts to go up because you're holding your breath, all of a sudden triggers all this oxygen into your blood and your tissues, out of your blood into your tissues, and you start getting enlivened. And the research on freedivers is pretty cool. That's how they kind of discovered this. They discovered that freedivers, if they didn't die down there doing crazy things, they actually had a lot of crazy health benefits from diving down. And there's the AMA breathers in Japan who are like in their 70s and 80s who are free diving down for 10, 12 minutes. Sometimes they even say longer. The record without oxygen holding your breath is 11 minutes without oxygen. I forget what I think it's maybe it's, no, I'm forgetting now. But it's longer than that with a little bit of oxygen before you go down, which makes sense. But with no oxygen help at all, the record is 11 minutes and something. Imagine holding your breath for 11 minutes, right? All that CO2 will be rising. You tell your body, right? The more CO2 you have, you get more calm or more stressed. You get more calm, right? So you're down there in the dark with the sharks and you're calm. You shouldn't be calm, but the CO2 is telling you should be calm. You're like, I guess I'm calm, which is amazing to me, by the way. I don't know how I would ever be calm down there. But what they discovered was that situation, that chemistry in your body is something called intermittent hypoxia, right? Where I'm holding my breath, I'm doing kumbhak or breath retention, right? And as I do that, my oxygen levels are going to start to go down in my blood, right? Because I'm holding my breath, my body's using that oxygen. And my CO2 levels, which are coming out of my tissues to be dumped, to be taken out as trash, starting to rise. And my body, as my oxygen levels go down, the body says, you better breathe soon, just letting you know that if you don't breathe soon, it's going to be bad. And what happens is the body goes, okay, well, we're not breathing. There's a lot of there's a lot of oxygen that's being dumped into the tissues because CO2 levels are rising. So I'm sort of calm, but I'm also have this little alarm bell that's so-called the electrician and the plumber and the carpenter. All these emergency vehicles are being told, 911, get here quick, and they start doing repair to the body. This is what happens when you let your oxygen levels go down below 90 into the 80s. For a short period of time, it creates an autophagy, a repair, a recycling, a rejuvenation of the body. And studies show that when you actually hold your breath, doing kumbhak or breath retention or just holding your breath even, it increases the production of stem cells, which research on won the Nobel Prize in 1998 as the panacea molecule. And it's a molecule that declines with age. That you can totally rejuvenate if you know how to do it Ayurvedically. We're going to talk about that this weekend as well. It increases, remember Lance Armstrong, the guy who got busted for doping erythropoietin, which is a hormone that brings more oxygen in your blood. He got busted for doing that. Well, it turns out when you hold your breath and do pranayama kumbhak, you actually make your own erythropoietin. You make endothelial growth factors that protect your lining of your arterial wall. You create transcription factors that are called the guardian of your genome that protect you from genetic tendencies to break down over time just by holding your breath, which is why pranayama came to be originally was because they knew that when you train your body to allow CO2 levels to rise, you have a receptor in your brainstem that tells you, I should breathe or I should be able to hold my breath longer. If you can hold your breath longer, that receptor has been conditioned to allow carbon dioxide to build up in your body and allow you to dump all that oxygen into your tissues and deeply rejuvenate you and lengthen your life. It's all pretty cool, right? And it's also my favorite thing about pranayama research and kumbhak research was that it changed your neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is old mental and emotional patterns of our brain. Many of us, right, have had things happen. We all have had a childhood, right? And all of us didn't go well. Some of it went better than others. But we all ended up with a personality that served us as a kid. Then you grow up and you go, well, some of those things probably I should get rid of because they're not serving me any longer. So we have patterns of behavior we created as a child to survive. And now as an adult, we keep projecting those onto the screen. And if you're meditating, doing yoga and breathing, and you're stilling your nervous system, you got to become aware, self-aware of the fact that some of these things aren't working that great. And I need to take action. That's what I mean by taking it off the mat. Action to take transformational action to free yourself from those patterns of behavior. That's called neuroplasticity. Changing those roads that are like 4 lanes with highways that we drive down every day. It's got lights on it. We don't even think about taking a different road. But yoga, breathing, Ayurveda, meditation gives you the awareness of that new road, a facilitated neural pathway that frees you from patterns of behavior, holding on to stimulation and satisfaction mostly from the outside world, and frees you to let who you truly are out. Ayurveda, Ayur means life, Veda means truth. It really means the truth of your life. That's what it's really about. And breathing is the first and most important thing, because on your diaphragm, there are what are called enteroreceptors, receptors for self-awareness. So if your diaphragm is like stuck in traffic and old and cringy, then it's not going to move and breathe and create the level of self-awareness to give you access to door number 2, that new road, that facilitated pathway that's going to free you from patterns of behavior that are keeping you locked into doing the same dumb thing again and again and again. And not to mention that diaphragm is pumping the trash out of your head. In Ayurveda, we call that tarpaka. Tarpaka means to hold on to old memories and to clean out, to detoxify and remember those old patterns of behavior, right? So if you went into a cave when you were 10 and a bear chased you out and almost ate you, you could be 99 and you would know that cave and never go back, right? You would never forget it. It's a species survival memory etched into the white matter of our brain like the waxy myelin. She just said, don't go into that cave. And we hold on to that for a lifetime. But Ayurveda, part of these techniques to clean out that brain lymph are breathing techniques to get that moving so you can change. Literally, I'm talking about scientific studies showing that these breathing techniques change your neuroplasticity, increase your neuroplasticity, give you the ability to be aware and then take transformational action, right? So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about some of these techniques that we have to do to make this happen. The first one is an article that I wrote called The Best Diaphragmatic Breathing Exercises on my website at lifespa.com. It's free. And there's 3 videos in that article. And the first one is really basic for you guys. I know that, but I'm just going to tell you. It's called Durga Pranayam, which is just the 3-step breathing where you fill your belly, then you fill your chest, then fill your upper chest, okay? So just for fun, let's just do that together. Let's put our hand on our belly, hand on our chest. Everything that I got to talk to you about from here on out is going to be through your nose, okay? And it's going to be long and slow and deep. So we're going to just breathe through our nose and fill our belly. Then fill our chest as we continue to inhale. Then our upper chest. And out. Okay, everybody got that? Now let's do it again, but this time fill our belly all the way, slowly. All the way. Now your chest, all the way. Now your upper chest, all the way. And out. That feel good? Okay, that's Durga Pranayam. Now I'm going to stand up. You guys stay seated. Now we're going to put it to, maybe I'm not going to sit. Maybe I'm not going to, but I can come down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my arms up. So everybody takes their arms up. Now we're going to reach for the sky. Fill your belly only, all the way. Chest only, all the way. Upper chest only. Now reach for the sky and come back down. Anybody feel a little pull under here? Okay, now we're going to do it again. Arms up. Fill your belly all the way. Chest. Upper chest. Now sip a little bit of air in, more, and reach, reach, reach. Up, up, up. Sip, sip, sip more in. Now you feel that rib cage, don't you? Your diaphragm's going down. You're reaching for the sky. You're breaking up all this scar tissue here. And there's a lot of scar tissue because your rib cage is being pulled by your diaphragm, attached to your diaphragm, making this cage-like, okay? Let's do it again. Arms up. Reach for the sky, belly. Chest. Upper chest. Reach. Sip the air in. And arms come back down. It's long. It's slow. but it's very deep. And these are called, in Western medicine, maximum inspiratory breathing techniques. I don't call this pranayama, I call it calisthenics to get the rib cage and diaphragm freed up. Now, if you were doing yoga, breathing pranayama as a yogi for many years, this is already happening for you. But for most people sitting in front of their computer all day long, this is not happening for them. I give this to my patients all the time, and it's not happening. The rib cage for most folks has become really, really rigid. Okay, so the second half of that is take your arms up, bend over to the side, and now breathe in, fill your belly, all the way, chest, upper chest, in, and over. Sip more, you're in. And where do you feel it? Do you feel it pull right in here? And then come back down. Good. And let's do that one again. Up, over, up, reach, over, belly, chest, upper chest, and come back down. And now let's go to the other side. Let's go over, fill your belly, all the way your belly, chest all the way, upper chest all the way, and then come back down. You feel the difference when you really fill your belly all the way? It creates kind of a tension, and then your chest all the way, and then your upper chest all the way. You're creating, like almost every rib cage is being asked to expand a little more than it did before. Last time, over to the side. Fill your belly all the way, long and slow and deep. Rib cage, chest, upper chest. Sip a little air in, and then come back down. Okay. And the third video in this series is very simple. It's just a handful of very simple yoga postures, like getting into child's pose. Fill your belly all the way, then your chest, then your upper chest. Sip it in, get it maxed in. So then you go into a sphinx or a bridge or a gentle twist. There's like 5 postures there. And then you breathe into that belly, chest, upper chest. Your goal, if you decide to take on this challenge, is to get the rib cage and your diaphragm freed up. And if you do those things for a month, like every day, 2 to 3 sets of 10 of those each, 10 up, 10 this way, 10 this way, 2 to 3 sets of that, 2 times a day for a month, this is going to be opened up for you. A lot of you probably have this already happening, but if you went up like that, up, and you felt the pull down here, you don't. Okay? And that diaphragm, which is not functioning well for you, is pumping your lymphatic system, your immune system, the trash out of your head, creating a level of self-awareness that we could have a whole lot better, more benefit from if that was working for us. And with 91% of athletes not having a diaphragm contracting and relaxing fully, that's pretty sad. Imagine if they had it, right? Okay, so that's the first one. Do that for a month. While you're doing that, there's one other piece of the puzzle. How I just taught you how to breathe is not how I actually would suggest that you breathe, because you don't want to be breathing up in the chest, because that's the fight or flight receptors up here, right? Which is why I made you do it long and slow and deep as a way to not trigger a fight or flight response. Okay? So that's why it has to be long, slow, and deep. But the second one is actually how we were designed to breathe. If you watch a dog breathe, or a baby breathe, or a horse breathe, how do they breathe? Do they breathe belly, chest, upper chest? When you watch a horse breathe, what happens to their abdomen? It goes out this way, right? They're breathing laterally or horizontally. You watch little babies breathe and their belly's going out like this, right? Until they go to kindergarten, then they lose their belly, right? So we lost what's called lateral excursion, which means the rib cage was designed to open up like this. But because of poor diaphragmatic function, the rib cage's job is to do what? Squeeze it out, get the air out. And if the diaphragm is not contracting fully to open it up, it's not gonna. It's going to slowly get tighter and tighter and tighter. So we have to create what's called lateral excursion. So what you could do is you could take a tape measure that the tailors use. What is that called? A tape measure, right? But it's like flexi, right? And then you put that there and you breathe all the way out. And measure your lateral excursion on a full exhale. Okay? Then do the same thing and take another measurement. a full inhale, and measure your lateral excursion. Write that number down. Then do this technique I'm going to show you for a month and see if you can improve your lateral excursion, all right? And that's called, this breathing technique is called lateral breathing or horizontal breathing, something like that on my website. And there's a whole video and all the science behind it, and is there as well. And so when you do this, we're going to do a different breathing. We're not going to move our chest this time, okay? We're going to only move our belly, and we're going to breathe out to the side. So let's do this together. Let's kind of fill our belly a little bit with our breathing in through our nose. Now, don't breathe here. Push the air out here. And as I breathe out, narrow the rib cage. Contract my abdomen. Fill my belly out. Don't go to my chest. Breathe in low and wide. Push the air out to the side. See my rib cage going wide here? More. Sip more. More. I can feel the air go to my back muscles. Then I breathe out, narrow my rib cage. Contract my abdomen. Squeeze it all the way out. Breathe in, belly goes out a little bit. Keep the breath low and wide. Push out to the rib cage on the side. Push it low and wide. Push that rib cage out here to the side. Keep sipping more air in. And then narrow the rib cage. Squeeze all the air out. Why that's so important is because, and slow and long deep, is because when your diaphragm relaxes, it's supposed to parachute up under your rib cage to fully relax. But if the rib cage is tight, it can't do that. It can't parachute the way it was designed up under the rib cage. So it doesn't fully relax. And if it doesn't fully relax, it's not going to fully what? Contract. So there you have it. It's anatomical. That's causing us to stress. The lack of rib cage excursion is called. Starts making us breathe more shallow. And that we lose direct access to the lymphatic pump. Research with women with breast cancer, they have more congestion of the anterior diaphragmatic lymph nodes because their rib cage lost access, right? So you would want to treat the rib cage, breathing, the diaphragm, and then track that back to the underlying digestive system because you don't want to shovel snow in a snowstorm. You want to treat the upstream cause as well, right? All right, so the second half of this breathing technique is actually to go and do a lateral bend. Put your hand over here on this side of your lower part of your rib cage, and now breathe in, belly a little bit. Now push your hand into your rib cage here. Push that hand out. Push it out. Do you feel it push out against your hand here? Sit more air in. And then when you breathe out, go all the way to the other side. Squeeze that air out. Go over, don't breathe yet, go over, put your hand over here, push into that rib cage. Feel that rib cage expanding here, low and wide. All the way in, sip air in, and then all the way out. Squeeze that air out. Let's go to the other side. Bend to the other side first, put your hand over here, feel that rib cage, feel your belly, then go low and wide into that rib cage. Push into your hand here. And then narrow the rib cage, squeeze all that air out. And one more time, over. Breathe into that hand, push the rib cage into your hand. And then over. Squeeze that air out. And you do 10 and 10 on each side. The first one where you just do the lateral breathing, fill your belly and breathe out here. You can do it in bed. Wake up in the morning, roll over on your back, and lie there and breathe a little bit of belly. Push the rib cage out to the side. Out, 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 out. Narrow the rib cage. Contract your abdomen. And you give yourself like this whole beautiful abdominal workout, intestinal peristaltic activation, a lateral excursion, elasticity. You start pumping the body's prana, its life force. The diaphragm gets activated for the day. And if you literally did that for 5 minutes in your bed every morning, that would probably be enough to keep your rib cage open and elastic, right? But while you're at your computer, you can do all these little things that right there sitting. You can do all these techniques right there at your computer. While you're at your, wherever, you can do it. But the idea is to keep that rib cage open, because we live in a world where we sit in positions that were not normal. Historically, everybody didn't sit, they squatted. Oops. And they squatted, and they ate this way. And that's how they did everything. And when you sit this way, it actually activates your diaphragm. But when you actually don't sit, when you sit like that, you lose diaphragmatic function, you lose floor of the pelvis function, which is another diaphragm that works synergistically with your upper diaphragm. So we created a lot of things like chairs, which were only invented 5,000 years ago, by the way. And that was just for the kings and the queens. Regular people didn't get chairs until much later, like much later. I can't give you an exact date when the first actual chair for regular people came, but we know the first royalty chair was like 5,000 years ago, which isn't very long ago. So we've been here for like 280,000 years without a chair. That's a long time. All right. Any questions before I go away? Yes.
Is it Vedic? You're breathing deeply and then you feel it here.
You feel it here?
Yeah.
One thing about what I taught you just now is to do these as what are called maximum inspiratory breathing techniques, but you should also know that you have to build up to this very slowly, because when you actually start building your rib cage open fully, it's a cage and it's tight. It doesn't want to do that. So you could strain a little bit. Doing it slow, really slow, will keep the fight or flight response down, but your muscles are also a little bit kind of not used to that. But so the idea here is to just take some baby steps and build it, but it shouldn't, if you do that, it might be using there's the upper chest one is used, it's called clavicular breathing, and you're actually using your muscles around your clavicle to breathe, and that might cause a little bit of a strain. So just take it slow, but once you get that diaphragm functioning for you, I mean, it's been shown to lower your blood pressure in like 3 minutes, better than the Western medication. I mean, the research on this is like off the charts, but nobody tells you that when you go to the doctor, that your breathing can be so powerful, Any other questions? You all good? Yeah.
The locks, Mula Bandha, and when you're doing this, to use your blocks, use your Mula Bandha and your Cholar. When you're doing these, I started using them automatically.
Yeah, I mean, if you know how to do those and they feel comfortable, then when you're actually doing maximum breathing, they sort of do naturally come in, but they're not even necessary to know them to get the benefit of this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's okay to use them.
Yeah. All right, you guys, I think, anyone have more questions? That's it? That's it for me. Thank you guys very much.
I would like to thank very much Dr. John Douillard. Let's give him a big hand for his talk. So his workshop tomorrow will be at noon, and it is on maximized performance off the mat with a beach walk or a jog breathing techniques. And we will meet with Dr. John at the Annapurna Devi house, that's by the Bayside. and this will be at noon. So we meet there before going to the beach to practice the techniques. Please bring your hat and sun protection as needed. And weather permitting, we'll proceed to the beach and have the workshop over there. And then the following day, on Sunday morning, we'll have another talk with Dr. John and another workshop at noon on Sunday. And then on Monday, we start the pulse diagnosis course. So a little bit about the pulse diagnosis course, which is still open for registration. You will learn how to feel Prakriti, which is the body type, and Vikriti, the imbalances, and how to prevent and treat imbalances based on an accurate pulse reading. Also, you will learn how to take the pulse soul to soul and use the pulse as a healing tool. And really, there are very few people who know this science, and Dr. John is, at least in the West, he's the #1 expert, I think. And so it's a rare opportunity that he's offering this course here in the ashram for the first time, starting on Monday. So we have a few announcements before we go over the schedule for tomorrow. First, on Sunday, we also start officially we start the celebration for Swami Srupananda's birthday. His birthday is on Saturday, June 7, and we have a week-long symposium with guest presenters. We have a dance performance on Sunday night. We have speakers from different traditions. And we'll have a big celebration in the coming week, and it will culminate with the birthday celebration on Saturday. There will be a big puja with our priest, Krishna Nambudri, in the morning, and another puja in the evening, and a big feast. And this is Swami Srupananda's 70th birthday, and he's our acharya, our spiritual teacher. So it's a big event for everyone, and people will be coming for this event from all over the world. And this is starting on Sunday. We also have 2 online programs starting on Sunday. So if you are leaving the ashram, just so you know, you can continue to practice with us. Satsang is broadcasted morning and evening for free on Zoom and on Facebook Live. And we are so grateful to Raj, let's give him a big hand, who's yeah, and we welcome all our online students who are here with us in the satsang. So morning and evening is broadcasted, and we also offer daily yoga classes. It's a monthly subscription that you can join us for yoga on a daily basis at 8:30 in the morning. It's an hour-and-a-half class offered by different teachers from all over the world. And we also have online courses that are usually 12-week long with the ashram swamis and senior teachers. So this coming Sunday, we start a new course with Naneshwari Chaitanya on Vibhuti Pada, a journey to higher consciousness. And this will be every Sunday from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is on the 3rd chapter of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Also, this coming Sunday, I will offer a free webinar on japa meditation, focus, clarity, and inner peace. And this is on Sunday at 11 a.m. until 12:30. And you can join this webinar for free to learn more about the practice of japa. Japa is a mantra repetition. And this is an introduction to an upcoming course, which I've been teaching for the last 4 years. Helping people with their meditation practice and other practices. So tomorrow is a big day, the TTC graduation day. So we congratulate the TTC. Let's give them a big hand. So we had this wonderful group of students for a month here with us, the May TTC, and they worked really hard and they studied a lot. And tomorrow morning they will take their final exam, and then we will have the graduation feast in the dinner, and then the graduation puja and ceremony. In the evening satsang, we'll give the diplomas, and we'll have a nice celebration. So therefore, the morning satsang is going to be short. We meet here at 6 a.m. We'll conclude around 7. And then the TTC will have a light breakfast in the dining area. And then they'll come back here for the exam. Everything will be explained in the morning. So we wish the TTC much success tomorrow. And for the guests, we will have, after the satsang, a yoga class at 8 until 9:45 in the Bay platform. Brunch at 9:50 in the dining area. 11, the ashram tour, living from reception for all the new guests. 12,